Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
"40 of the best sim racers, $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge?" This is the most competitive and sought-after season in iRacing World Championship history. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Super Cup.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them 4 abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Good evening and welcome to another night of fun, another night of banter and another night of the Postman coming out on track. It is Just Send It, presented by us here at SimSpeed TV in association with the Hype Project, SimWorks, Wolfchester, Vantage Freight, GB Galvanizing and Jack Technologies. My name is Jay Kennedy, alongside me in the booth for tonight's racing action. Firstly, we've got Ryan Jones. Ryan, welcome along for Just Send It. It's going to be a very, very fun night of racing here at Road America.
Yeah, mate, I'm absolutely keen. We've got a bumper field of pro drivers and some very fast drivers from the iRacing community as well. And as we know, this Just Send It series, action-packed, and it will be tonight.
Definitely will be. Also joining us tonight for the very, very first time in an esports race, for the first time in sim racing. Welcome to Lachlan Mansell. Lockie, welcome into the booth. Looking forward to a very, very fun night. You've picked a good one to turn up.
Yeah, thoroughly looking forward to this one. Good evening to you, Jay, Ryan, and everybody else tuning in right around the world. I've done plenty of real-life racing commentary, but never done any sim racing commentary, so I'm looking forward to something a bit different tonight. Looking forward to having some fun and hopefully seeing some big sends.
Definitely will be, with the names that are out here tonight. Before we get into some of the names, just a big shout-out to some of our big supporters behind the scenes. Big shout-out to Jack Technologies. I had a few messages during the week from people wanting to know how to get involved in this series, wanting to know about where to get a good computer and things like that. Contact Jack Technologies. They will hook you up with a perfect computer to be able to get on iRacing, to be able to get on Just Send It and have some fun every Tuesday night. So big shout out to all of our supporters. SimWorks as well can hook you up with a very, very cool sim rig, as well as all of our other sponsors who help us and support us throughout this series. I must say, how fun is this, watching these guys out on track? Four guys almost bump drafting down the front straight, or down the second straight, coming into turn 5. We're going to see a lot of that. We're going to see bump drafting tonight, which will be really cool.
Yeah, we certainly will, and it won't pay off quite as often as you'd think. These cars getting up in excess of 250 kilometers an hour. Doesn't always work, this bump drafting, and a bit of undulation on this track as well, which almost makes things interesting. You don't really like a track with, completely flat corners and straights. It's always more exciting when you've got some nice undulating track, and you see a bit of it coming up out of turn 5 and through this carousel, no undulation, but a fantastic corner, really long and really tricky to get the power down just right.
Definitely is one of the trickiest tracks. Lockie, we've got some big names out there. Run us through who your eyes on, considering you know a lot of these people behind the scenes in this series tonight.
Indeed. Well, certainly Dylan O'Keefe, who's been one of the regular competitors in Just Send It, a driver who's very familiar with me because he's one of the drivers who I actually do a bit of work with in the real life racing world, but some other very, very well credentialed drivers in the field tonight, including a couple of full-time pilots from the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship. Shane Van Gisbergen's making an appearance. So too Nick Percat. Good to see James Golding in the field as well. And some other drivers who've had some experience and some top results at a national level as well. Marcus Ambrose is there, Justin Rugia, and we know that Justin is very experienced in both real life racing, currently leads the Aussie Racing Car Series, but has also had lots of success in sim racing over the years as well. So some big names who are going to be fighting it out right at the front of the field.
And another name that we need to give a little shout out to, he's been bagged out quite a lot on social media over the last couple of days. Glenn Wood, a big happy birthday, Glenn. Everyone's been saying it's your 50th birthday. We hear that that's wrong. It's actually his 60th birthday today. So no, it's actually his 31st birthday today. So happy birthday to Glenn. And he's got a little surprising coming. He doesn't know what the surprise is yet, but we might tell it a little bit early. They've put him on pole just for a bit of a laugh, so this could be very, very interesting. One thing it will do is guarantee sends into turn 1.
Oh, we're going to see some big sends, and the Just Send It series is no stranger to a first lap chaos.
Have a look at
In
the windscreen
first
banner on his car.
Oh, what's he got? What's he got? Let me have a
Honk
look.
if you're horny.
Oh no.
I must say, I do love his helmet. That is one of the best helmets we've seen. We've seen this one a little bit, but that is one of my favourites. I do love that helmet. We will run through our starting grid very, very quickly, though, because standing start tonight, so these guys will get away very, very quickly. As we said, Glenwood will start on pole. Jackson Susan Harlow did set the fastest time in qualifying, but he will start second alongside the birthday boy with Cody Bircher and Shane Van Gisbergen next. Craig Edwards and Jack Lemon on the third row. Nathan Huppets and Hayden Dodman on the fourth row. Fifth row is Dylan O'Keefe and some guy that's apparently a world champion in some sim racing, Joshua Rogers. The rest of the names will scroll through on screen. But seeing a few of these guys that are in the mid-pack, there's some pretty big names in there, Ryan, that we're used to seeing in our broadcast series. It's going to be interesting to see them come through the field, the likes of Mitchell McLeod, Thomas Hins, very credentialed sim racers in their own right. They've got to work their way through from that mid-pack to try and get to the front and avoid what happened last week and try and get through without any big incident.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, nigh on impossible with the way this series pans out. They'll give it a red hot crack. Some great pro drivers there too, but here in the revs your eyes, I think we're going to go green soon.
Someone's just started rolling. I think that's Dylan O'Keefe. He's had a little mistake. SVG's decided to start from the pits. And Jackson Susan Harlow straight away. Sorry, that's Cody Bircher. He's gone straight through to take the lead straight away. A great move to get the first position straight away. The rest of the field funneling out. So I see Jackson Susan Harlow through on the inside, and Glenwood's already lost a couple of spots. Someone shut off the track, and we've got a couple of cars around. Dylan O'Keefe, Justin Rougier. Matt Morris is involved as well. Chris Owen. And Glenn Woods also dropping back down the field. There's still cars trying to come through. That's a decent wreck, that one.
That's a big crash, and they're still crashing. Oh no. Yeah, that's a big one. That's a lot of cars.
They're still going. Oh my.
It's almost reminiscent, isn't it, guys, of what we saw with the Mazda MX-5s at the Catalunya circuit last week, where all it takes, because you've got such a big field funneling down into a right-angled corner with a very long run from start to finish line, it only takes one tiny mistake or the smallest bit of contact between a couple of cars, and it triggers off a massive chain reaction that can wipe out or decimate the field, which unfortunately is what we've seen. But the front runners have been able to capitalise, and Cody Bircher, who was on a bit of a high at the moment because he got his first race victory in the Australian Formula Ford Championship at Wakefield Park last weekend, he's pulled out to a nice lead already.
He's already got a 3.5 second advantage. See on the ticker on screen, it'll actually come up and show a few other names at the front of the field. They're actually in the pits after that issue, so they've had to be timed ahead just due to where their pit stall is. But they are not in the lead. Cody Bircher leads now by 4 seconds, but it's on for second. And third as Andrew Collins runs off the circuit. And he's just lost the spot there to Nick Foster. So Nick Foster moves into third position now.
Yeah, good start for Nick Foster. That was actually Jack Lemon that ran off the track. And Andrew Collins is up into second place. Good start. And now Marcus Ambrose. He started 28th on this grid. Have a look at where he is. He's up into a 13th place on the screen, and I think he may be maybe running in 5th place, and he is. That's a tremendous start. Getting some of that wreck avoidance practice from his NASCAR days coming in handy there.
Dylan Carroll with a great advantage into turn 1 though, and through he will go and take that position away. But Ambrose is no stranger to the iRacing service. Side by side they go as Carroll overruns the corner, and Ambrose will have the corner into turn 3 and the run down the back straight. He might have enough momentum here, but it's all about getting power down out of turn 3 here.
It is. Carroll looks like he's got a good run though. He's going to go right up to the back bumper and get alongside Marcus Ambrose. Down and towards turn 6 they go. Downhill braking zone, and Dylan Carroll out braking Marcus Ambrose and takes the spot back, and Ambrose has to settle for 6.
So the gap at the front of the field is 3.9 seconds. Cody Bircher over Andrew Collins. Nick Foster in third. As we saw Jack Lemon Dylan Carroll and Marcus Ambrose. The rest of our runners that we want to focus on, Steve Owen is in 8th position. Rogers got through that accident and is in 9th position. Justin Rougier in 12th position. He's just behind Jackson Callow. And Shane Van Gisbergen has somehow got through. As competition cautions come out early, I think that's to get a little bit of damage fixed and get some drivers back up and out into the race, which I don't mind seeing that at all.
Just having a look at the timing screen, gentlemen, and I think there were only about 16 cars that actually successfully completed the first lap.
Yep.
So that really was a monumental shunt there in the first corner that wiped out well over half of the field.
Might get a quick replay of the start once again. I actually saw Will Longmore at the back of the field here. Actually had an incident before the start line, so he had an issue getting away. But Dylan O'Keefe was involved in that accident. We'll get a replay on screen now and see exactly what unfolded there. He's actually just lost it all by himself. And then Justin Rougier, you can see the 19 car, the blue and red car, looping it around. And then just ahead there was a huge accident. See if we can pick up who that was flying through the air, literally flying through the air. They're still flying.
I think there was about 5 accidents that happened there all by themselves, and they've sort of all just converged into the mother of all accidents. And I remember that quote from Sydney 2010, the famous quote, he's in the fence, they're both in the fence, they're all in the fence. And I think that was very fitting here today.
That was a massive crash, and it's like still going. Like, wasn't much caution shown by a lot of people there. I think this was a real race. There'd be a few drivers in a little bit of trouble from race control for their behaviour there.
One of the problems is, as you mentioned there, Jay, it was Dylan O'Keefe who was the initial one to spin, but I think then several other drivers jumped on the brakes to avoid O'Keefe, had their own spins, and then it was just a chain reaction crash of drivers going left and right to try and take evasive action, but ultimately all they succeeded in doing was crashing into one another. But one of the interesting things with this competition caution is that in the previous few weeks...
Oh, they're crashing under the caution! Alex caught Paul Nickel.
Oh no.
Just on the straightaway behind the king. Nathan Huppert's and Mitchell McLeod is facing backwards. And I don't think this is the king. This is a run down to turn 5, sorry, my bad, and that's not great. That's really not great.
There's a car stopped on the circuit there. McLeod ran into the back of that car.
Yeah, it unsighted pretty much, and everyone started checking up. Not much you can really do. That's just send it serious. It never ceases to amaze sometimes.
So the point that I was going to make before all of that carnage erupted behind the safety car was that this is the earliest... Yeah, no worries. No, it's good that you jumped in because the vision that I've got is a couple of seconds behind, but this is the earliest competition caution that we've seen. In previous weeks, it's generally been around that mid-race distance when people have started taking their pit stops. This week, though, it's come very early in the race, so what that means is that hopefully from here until the end, we'll have a green flag run and we'll be able to see the different pit strategies playing out.
So there'll be 2 full laps under the caution period. The lights are still on the iRacing pace car, well, the safety car. Beautiful Porsche. And the lights will go out when they cross the start line this time by, and the field will sort themselves out. The drivers that are one lap down, not are a 1 lap down, that doesn't make much sense, which there is, from my calculations, there are about 32 drivers on the lead lap at this stage, 33 drivers on the lead lap. We had 53 starters and only 33 on the lead lap. We're only 3 laps in or 4 laps in, that's incredible. A lot of those will be waved by on the next lap, so that will mean that we'll get a few more back on the lead lap. And from there we will go green flag racing. There's a couple of drivers that are very, very close together that I know will have a very, very good battle. The 2 I'm looking at, Justin Rougier and Hayden Dodman, they're no strangers to each other. So those 2 will be very, very interesting to watch, as I just saw Jackson Callow drive into the pits, and he's going to come in and take his service now. Actually, a few drivers have come in to take their service and get their fuel loaded up in the car. Of course, they do need to make a pit stop in this race, but I'm not sure that they'll be able to make it home from here. It might be a tiny bit early.
Yeah, it should be interesting. It's a 60% restriction on the fuel tank, so these drivers may be taking a gamble, hoping they'll get to the end. Maybe they've done their research more than us up here in the booth, and they know they can get there. But this would be an interesting one to see how this plays out.
If you're a bit further down the order, it's probably a gamble worth taking, because even if you can't make it to the end from here, what it will mean is that your second pit stop will be very short compared to everybody else, so you might be able to gain a few positions that way.
Yeah, definitely. It's the better option, or the lesser of two evils if you're further down the field. I'm surprised that some of those guys that come in from 8th, 9th, 10th, they had a little bit more to lose. So unless they had someone back in the field that they wanted to battle with, that's always another part of it as well that we can often see in this series. But Bircher will lead them around once they complete this lap, and they will go green once again.
Just confirm as well for us the awards. So we've got the biggest postman for the driver who makes up the most positions, the best send, and isn't it the biggest failed send as well?
Yep, biggest failed send gets an award as well, which possibly will have to come from someone at that Turn 1 incident. Lap 1, someone trying to gain a few spots while that was going on might have to get an award for that. But we haven't had much of a chance to have any real sends yet. I've only really seen the one from from Dylan Carroll so far. I'm just noticing too that we've ended up with a big mover in the field. I don't want to shout him out too much. Reese Lowe, one of the admins of the series. Plus, I'm reading this right on my timing screen, plus 42. He started in 52nd place, he's in 10th.
He started, I think he was the last car to start this race, and he's up in the top 10.
How is that?
I don't know. I think he was so far back, he just wasn't able to get involved in that crash, and he just picked his way through after everyone's done the crashing. Nonetheless,
That's incredible.
That's remarkable from Reese Lowe.
Reese did come and have a little chat with us before the race as well. He was pretty excited to get in there tonight. There's no doubt why, now that we're seeing him up so many positions. It's incredible. I've never seen anyone gain so many spots in 10 minutes of a 40-minute race. That's incredible.
Not even 10 minutes after this race, we've gone with caution.
That's true. The Bircher about to get us back underway. The iRacing safety car comes down the back chute into Canada corner. One of the more iconic corners on the circuit. This, along with the kink and the carousel, probably the three most iconic parts of this circuit. Fantastic facility at Elkhart Lake in the USA. Very iconic circuit. It's one that's on my bucket list of circuits to visit in America. Xfinity race they have here always turns on a really good show, and the IndyCar series and the IMSA series as well, always very, very good here. So we get ready to go green. Hopefully we can get through turn 1 this time.
I sense some big sends coming from the guards further back in this pack right now.
I do too. When will Bircher go? He's waiting for the pace car to finally get into the pit lane, which it is, so he can go at any time he likes. And green flag will fly now under the bridge. And away goes Bircher. A very, very good jump. He's got a great launch. And Reese Lowe actually already trying to get a position here on Hayden Dodman. Justin Ruggier as well trying to get a position. He will get a position here on Scott Goodman into turn 1.
Good move from Ruggier up the inside, nice and clean. A little bit of contact maybe further back.
Oh, commentator's curse here.
And Reese Lowe is off in the gravel, skating it, clips the wall, don't come back on the track. Oh, he's got half the car on the track, but I think everyone should see him and go around him. There's a couple of close calls, but he gets it out of the way now. And well, thank goodness for that, Reese Lowe, not involved.
Lockie, you can see that the commentator's curse works in sim racing just as well as it does in real world racing.
Just as well as it does in real world racing, but we've got some pretty good drivers who've worked up to the top of the field. I've already talked about Cody Bircher, but Nick Foster's managed to get ahead of Andrew Collins as well. And we know that Nick Foster's a driver very experienced in real life racing, former Carrera Cup champion, and more drama.
More drama, got another car upside down. It's Vince Gucciardo from GB Galvanizing is upside down. That's not where the sponsor needs to be. Marcus Ambrose is also in the wall in the chute down the hill. But yeah, Nick Foster through, who featured in our release video a couple of weeks ago. He's very, very comfortable in this car because he looks really quick right now. He's already closing in on Bircher.
Yeah, he is. Nick Foster's running around pretty well. He started this race pretty far down as well, back there in 14th place, up into 2nd right now, and as you say, closing on Cody Bircher. See how these first laps compare next time around. Obviously, off the rolling start won't be too much of a difference. And a bit of cloud cover's come over the racetrack now too, so maybe a little bit more grip out there for some of these guys to play with. As Shane Van Gisbergen exploits everything he can off this racetrack, going through the penultimate corner. There's a couple more cars did manage to find their way off into the gravel. We'll get a replay up. We'll see the replay on screen.
It was just a couple of cars going straight ahead at Canada Corner. Missed the braking zone completely as we go back live. Dylan Carroll and Shane Van Gisbergen, two very, very good mates, and Justin Rougier as well, three very good mates. They all know each other very well, all having a good battle here in the top 5, or just out of the top 5, I should say. Rougier, very, very accomplished sim racer, former 3-time runner-up in the iRacing official V8 series. Famously had a very, very big championship battle with Madison Down, the 8-time champion. So, no, very, very familiar to sim racing is SVG up the inside of Dylan Carroll and gives him a little bump out of the way. Move out of my way, please. They'll be chatting to each other as well.
Now. JSH, Jackson Susan Harlow himself, is up into P9 after a bit of a recovery. He started from P2, he's dropped down, but it looks like he's got some pace now. Starting to fight his way back through the field, getting up onto the back of Dylan Carroll, making the way in towards the carousel. As the march continues for Shane Van Gisbergen, closing up onto the back now of Justin Rougier.
Another driver who's had a bit of an up and down race is Glenn Wood. Started from pole, slips down the order, but has worked his way back up into 13th position at this stage.
He has, and he's also pitted as well, so that'll be interesting to see how much he can capitalise on that. Will Van Gisbergen have a big send up the inside? I'll tell you what, late on the brakes there was Jackson Susan Harlow. Almost ran into the tail of Dylan Carroll. Wasn't able to get the move done, but that was a big attempt at a send there from JSH. He's going to throw it up the inside into the final corner. No backs out of it at the last second. But JSH looks very, very quick at this stage of the race. He might be able to close up that gap to the front. He's only 4 seconds back. But we know how quick JSH is. He could close in that gap within the next 23 minutes.
He certainly could. A very accomplished driver as Shane Van Gisbergen looks up the inside of Justin Rougier. Just can't quite find the room up into turn number 1. And Rougier will hold off. These two so incredibly quick on the iRacing service and in real life as well, of course. And going out as Rougier gets 2 tyres on the grass, almost loses it through turn 2. And he's going to lose out to Shane Van Gisbergen, unfortunately. JSH has got by Dylan Carroll. He gets to the back of Justin Rougier now and gets alongside him. This could cost Rougier drastically that little moment through turn 3. But how late does he go on the brakes? Sends it and goes straight off the racetrack as a result. We'll lose 3 more spots, and from bad to worse for Rougier there.
Shane Van Gisbergen, he is just the master at doing that though, isn't he? Whether it's in real life or in sim racing, he knows how to intimidate the driver in front. He knows how to force them into a mistake, and that's exactly what he did there to Justin Rougier.
And Rougier has that experience that usually you wouldn't expect him to fall for those little tricks, but he definitely did there. And Susan Harlow's already through on Shane Van Gisbergen as well. Susan Harlow is flying at the moment as we were just watching Ashley Lear, Glenn Wood and Dylan O'Keefe go at it. Sorry, it was Chris Owen, Dylan O'Keefe and Glenn Wood. O'Keefe is starting to move up a little bit too. He's dropped all the way back down the field after that huge incident at the start. He's also pitted as well to come in and take service, and he's already back up into 14th, so he's going along quite nicely at the moment and gives Glenn a little bit of a happy birthday flash of the headlights too.
Great racing up and down this field. I don't know where to look right now, Jay. There's so much happening. I'm looking at the battle between JSH and Van Gisbergen. It is not over with yet. As how late does Shane want to go there into the final corner? Did everything except give a bump to the back with Jackson, Susan, Harlow, and the move itself from Harlow getting by came from Van Gisbergen running off the track on the corner before the carousel, and Jackson Harlow was able to slice up the inside into the carousel as now Van Gisbergen looks to the inside into turn 1, gets the move done. Harlow's going to look for the cutback, but he's not going to get it though. He might come under pressure from Dylan Carroll. He tries to cover. They're not there. Oh no! Oh no, there's contact, and Harlow goes spearing off into the gravel. And that's unfortunate for JSH because he was running really well.
I have a contender for the fail send for tonight now. Go back up to the front of the field because Hayden Dodman's closed in on that battle pack for third. So Collins, Lemon and Dodman all very close. Nick Foster's been able to pull away, but he's not able to break into that big gap that Cody Birch has pulled away again. Birch is looking really strong in this one.
He's doing a great job, but Nick Foster's just sort of lurking there, isn't he? He's right up with Bircher at the moment, but he's having a very steady, consistent run in second position. And Andrew Collins, he's been one of the really consistent performers in the Just Send It series over the last month or so. And the interesting background about Andrew Collins is he doesn't actually race in real life, but he is a race team engineer for the Ashley Seawood Motorsport operation, which runs cars in a number of national categories, including TCR and Carrera Cup. So Andrew Collins certainly knows what he's doing when it comes to car setup and strategy.
The only downfall to him is that fixed setup for these races, so he can't tweak the car too much before the race starts. But I'm sure he'd be comfortable with understanding what the car's doing as well. He'd be able to look at the way that the car's been set up and understand what it's going to do. Hayden Dodman has set the fastest lap of the race as well, with a 2:02.946. A few other drivers have been in the 2:02s, but have not been able to purple their time in comparison, saying that Cody Birch is just on a 2:02.8 to set the fastest lap of the race. But Dodman might be close enough to have a lunge here into turn 1, although there's a car coming out of the pits has probably distracted him a little bit. It takes to the grass to try to avoid contact. So go back a little bit. Brad Newman. I'll tell you what, Brad Newman's car looks like he should be the one to get the Send It award because he's got the perfect livery on for Just Send It in a FedEx livery. If he doesn't send it, there's something wrong. He's wearing the wrong skin.
Yeah, that's a great livery and great choice of event for Brad Newman. And just update you all, Jackson Harlow after that spin has fallen all the way back down to 15th place, right in front of Hayden Veld in 16th, who I just want to give a shout out to. Because he didn't plan on doing this race. He's jumped in at the last second, you know, as you do. He was scored back in, I think, 45th at one point. He's up there into 16th place, so kudos to him. He now owes me for giving him a shout-out. As we look back to the battle for 8th place, and look at this. Brad Newman, Justin Rugier going side by side.
Rugier giving a little bit of Morse code there too to Brad Newman, so these two are no strangers as well. They used to race each other, I'm thinking 6 years ago. These two used to have some great battles back in the day. Back in the old V8s and line day. It's a long time ago. It's, now, Rugier, he's looking the strongest out of this little three-car tandem.
One of the other things about Road America is because the straights are so long, slipstreaming is a factor, and we saw it before with that great move that Shane Van Gisbergen put on Justin Rugier and a couple of other cars. But also, if you do have a battle pack that's got 3 or more cars, then you can get a double or a triple tow, and with the right angle corners that are at the end of each of the long straights, that creates some great overtaking opportunities.
It's a track that always provides an entertaining race too. I don't think I've ever seen a bad race in any car at this circuit. It always turns on something special. Why it's become the staple of V8 Scops to be the final round of that series. It's Justin Rugier looking up the inside, and as you said before, the draft plays a big key. He's pulled out early though, has got a little bit of overspeed and will brake just late enough to get the move done. Good move there from Justin Rugier, and also forced Brad Newman wide so he couldn't get the cut back as well. So a very, very clever pass. It just shows the experience that Justin Rugier has to get himself up into 8th.
Our race leaders are continuing to pull away. Just having a look at the lap times, and can you believe that Cody Bircher and Nick Foster have actually just done identical lap times to the 1,000th of a second of 2:03.083 for both Bircher and Foster. So those two front runners very evenly matched at the moment.
Good little battle there, isn't it? It's the first one to make a mistake that could lose that spot as Andrew Collins runs a little bit wide and now feeling a lot of pressure behind here from Jack Lemmon. So this could be a potential move here. There's Hayden Dodman just sitting there and watching and waiting. It's almost like he's waiting for one of these guys to make a big mistake so he can get a 2-for-1 offer.
Yeah, Dodman very experienced in the iRacing world, so he knows what he's doing out there. He knows how these battles usually pan out, especially in a series like this, and some failed sends very possible. But Andrew Collins is just able to edge that gap out through the carousel and in through the kink as well. So got a bit of a gap now after Jack Lemmon. Should be safe for the next couple of corners. We look back to Dylan Carroll and Justin Rigier, who once again, look at Rigier closing up in the draft, getting ever closer, but opts to break early, not go for the move, and maybe look to get the run out of the corner and set himself up through these next sequence of corners. Use that slipstream down the main straight and look for a send up the inside of turn 1.
Big thing we have to think about here too is that those front 5 have not pitted. The first car that has pitted is Van Gisbergen, so he's in the prime spot to win this race if he's got enough fuel to make it home. So will those front 5 really rue the fact that they didn't take fuel, as up the inside goes Hayden Dodman to take 4th position away from Jack Lemmon? But we're not 100% sure on the fuel. Whether they could save enough under the caution period to make it home, we're not sure. But if they can't make it home, SVG's in the prime spot to win this race.
He is. It'd be a masterstroke of a strategy from Van Gisbergen if he pulls it off, although of course, you know, he drives for Red Bull Racing in real life, and that team haven't been particularly convincing with their fuel mileage sometimes, so we'll see. As Rigi has been rotated by Dylan Carroll. Brad Newman's gone around as well in sympathy, and that's a big game changer in that battle for the top 5 spot.
Just a tiny little tap on the brakes unloaded Justin Rugier, and then in sympathy, around went Brad Newman. He wasn't anywhere near the accident. He just tapped the brake a little bit too hard because he thought Rugier was going to come back in front of him. Big winners out of that were Ashley Lear and Dylan O'Keefe, who are now right behind Dylan Carroll as well. And Carroll's one of those cars that didn't pit as well. So this has turned into a really interesting fight now, because these guys could potentially be on the podium. Ashley Lear and Dylan O'Keefe have both pitted. They could be our podium sitters.
But do they have the fuel range? That's the big question that you have to ask. I've got a feeling, obviously Dylan O'Keefe was caught up in all of those shenanigans at the first corner. What we don't really know...
Oh, sorry to cut you off. It's Dylan Carroll and Ashley Lear come together, and O'Keefe goes straight through, and another car's involved there. Rugier's involved. Susan Harlow gets through. That was a lap car that's got involved there, the 50 car. Who was that? Oh, it's Chris Owen, actually. Thought it was a lap car, and there's another car around in the background. Marcus Ambrose is around in the background too. Wowee. Sorry to cut you off there.
No worries.
What happened?
Every time I'm trying to explain something, it seems that all hell breaks out on the racetrack. But I think that Dylan O'Keefe's first pit stop was probably to repair damage sustained in that first lap, first corner incident. So I'm not convinced that he's going to have the fuel range to get to the end without stopping again.
Be interesting.
Marcus Ambrose has done that on his own. Just having a look at those replays, he got the left wheels out in the gravel trap there and just rotated the car all by himself.
SVG's got some great pace at the moment. He has just set the fastest lap of the race, 2:02.7, and is now right behind Andrew Collins and Hayden Dodman. So does this say that he may not be right on fuel and is just going at it to try and force these guys to use more fuel and force them in the pits, or is he maybe going to make it on fuel and forcing these guys to go a bit quicker, or am I reading way too much into this one?
Either that or he's aggressively saving fuel and somehow finding an absolute bucket load of pace out there at the same time as through the kink using all of the track.
That's how you do it.
More out on the grass, but he's going to go under pressure though, because Jack Lemmon's got a run, and maybe wisely so opts to sit him behind, doesn't go for the move And Van Gisbergen was extremely deep on the brakes there, fending off Lemon. But I do wonder, Jay, how's this race going to pan out for Van Gisbergen as he continues to use everything except the racetrack on the exits of the corners?
I mean, SVG's famously run off the circuit to cool his tyres down before. So I just wonder if that was what he was doing. Maybe he's just using all the tyres because he's brought it into the pits. And so that probably answers the question about fuel for him. He needs more fuel, which means those front runners definitely have to come in. There's only 11 minutes left, around about 6 laps of racing. There's not much left in this race, so this is really getting thrown up in the air. Glenn Woods coming into the pits as well. All of these guys that did pit under that caution are coming back in for another stop.
Who knew we could have so much strategy in a 40-minute sprint race, effectively? These guys have turned it on with this strategy. I think that early safety car as well really threw this race up into the air as just saw a replay of what happened to Dylan Carroll as well.
I thought we might have actually seen him have an incident at the kink there, but it looks like it's a Canada corner, which has caught how many drivers out now? We nearly need a counter on screen for how many drivers have been caught out at Canada corner. It'd nearly be half the field that have had a spin here in this race. Now, there must be something going on in the circuit there, because it's uncharacteristic for one corner to catch so many drivers out in a race.
Well, when you look at it on a track map, it looks like a fairly innocuous corner, doesn't it? Just a fairly basic 90-degree right-hander. But I think with the undulations and the elevation changes as you head down into that section of the circuit, to actually get the car stopped and get it turned in, it seems to be a place where the cars can get very easily unsettled.
The big thing too is you've got that left-hand kink that you have to manoeuvre as well. So if you take it too much, as just on boarding with Andrew Collins, he almost locked it up and went straight ahead there too. It's a difficult corner because you've got that left-hand kink beforehand, so you have to straight line that to then get the line so you're not turning under brakes. And of course these big heavy cars, they don't like braking at the best of times anyway with their huge engines and overpower. They don't like stopping, so getting them stopped for that corner is not the easiest thing. Another of our leaders in, Jack Lemon.
We'll see where Lemon rejoins in relation to Van Gisbergen, who's out on track right now. Absolutely eking every little bit of speed he can find in this, I must say, beautiful looking GT1 car. They're good little machines to look at, and it's a shame the series doesn't run officially in any World Series on iRating, because I think you get some great racing, because we've seen some great racing tonight, haven't we, Jay?
We definitely have, and of course we did run a GT1 series here on SimSpeed a few seasons ago. And SVG, look at that, straight past Jack Lemon, 6-second shorter stop for Van Gisbergen, just due to the length of time that he needed to stop because of him pitting under the caution period. So I've got a feeling that SVG might be our effective leader right now. This is going to be interesting in the next couple of laps once everyone comes in. And just see Brad Newman coming out of the pits. He lost a lot of ground after that little spin.
So just having a look at the timing, and Shane Van Gisbergen is 42.1 seconds behind Cody Bircher, who is the leader of the motor race. So what that means is that Cody Bircher has to get into the pits, take on the fuel that he needs to get to the end, get back out in less than 42 seconds if he's going to beat Shane Van Gisbergen in terms of the effective race lead.
And the one thing about this circuit is it's a very, very long pit lane. Is Hayden Dodman out of fuel? Hayden Dodman is out of fuel. So, these guys at the front might need to get into the lane right now. Here we go. Everyone in. Bircher in. So Dodman's not going to make it back to the pits. He's too far back. One thing I was going to say is this pit lane is so long, and it is slow. 70 kilometres an hour. And it's a really, really long pit lane. I think it's the longest pit lane we have on iRacing. So it does take a long time to get your service done. It will be interesting between Van Gisbergen and Bircher. I think Bircher might be a couple of seconds clear, but it will be close. Dodman's out of the race from third. That's disappointing for him.
Jackson Harlow. Wasn't he 15th?
He was.
10 minutes ago?
He was. And he also pitted under the caution.
So, In theory, he shouldn't make it to the end. But who knows, honestly, at this stage. Is that where's Van Gisbergen going to be in relation to the guys who've just pitted? Looking like it's going to be...
Close.
ahead. It's going to be close, but it's going to be.
So Van Gisbergen back out. What's the gap there? 4.4 seconds is the official gap from Van Gisbergen to Bircher. The pace that SVG has at the moment, you'd say that he'd nearly get there because he's just matched pretty much his fastest lap of the race. This is going to be a really close battle. And Nick Foster in second, effectively. So this is going to come right down to the wire. Foster has to watch his mirrors because SVG's coming for him.
One of the things that probably helps Nick Foster slightly is the fact that there is that lapped car in between, although in saying that Van Gisbergen goes past it right now, but you'd have to say that that's definitely a net gain for Van Gisbergen. He's a lot closer to the race leaders than he was before that pit stop sequence.
Definitely is. So just seeing that the timing, the live gap has now come down to 4.1 and it's closing and closing even further. 4 seconds flat, 3.9. He's closing into Cody Bircher very quickly. I'm wondering if Bircher is struggling with his tyres, getting them back up after that little run down the pit lane. Sometimes your tyres can take a little bit to get back up to temp again.
Don't forget,
yeah,
these cars now have the new tyre model as well, which means
mistake for Bircher.
If those tyres caught off in the pit lane, he might just be struggling to switch them on. And Shane Van Gisbergen's been out there for a couple laps now since his last pit stop, so he's got nice hot tyres on the car, which means he's got all the grip he wants. And Cody Bircher, as you mentioned, struggling right now.
Susan Harlow's in the lane. So it leaves one car that we believe is left to pit, that being Craig Edwards from Fusion Sim Racing. And SVG running against the pit wall to try and get the draft of Nick Foster.
Now, guys, we know how good Josh Rogers is in sim racing. He hasn't had the best of nights. He was one of the drivers who got caught up in those opening corner shenanigans, but I'll tell you what, he's on the move now. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, and he's moved up into 8th position, and he'll be looking to pick off a few more cars in these closing 4 and a bit minutes that we've got left.
2:02.3. It's an incredible pace. The next best is Van Gisbergen's 2:02.7. Van Gisbergen's last 4 laps, 2:02.8, 2:02.7, 2:02.7, 2:02.9. How good's the pace and consistency from Van Gisbergen?
This dude's a driver something in real life. I feel like he's got the pace to be a champion in some form of motorsport, Jay.
He goes alright. Heard he goes alright.
I heard he does too. I think we're going to see a change of position here for what will be P2 once Craig Edwards finally peels that car down into pit lane, because Van Gisbergen's starting to really harass the back of Foster's car now, and he's getting really close through the carousel, and a good run out of here and through the kink, and he may be able to set himself up for a bit of a send down into Canada corner. As we'll see the run through the kink, and pretty even for both drivers, but that slipstream for Van Gisbergen gonna come into play here. And look at how much he's gonna close up down towards Canada corner. He's not gonna get close enough though. And the next opportunity will be turn 1, where he's gonna be square and firmly in that draft for all the length of that main straight.
Craig Edwards comes in, so everyone has now made their stop. We've got 2 laps of racing to go in this one. Cody Bircher leads by 3.4 seconds over Nick Foster. Van Gisbergen is just behind. And Van Gisbergen has draft to get past Foster here. This is going to be pretty much done. He's going to have to go the long way though. Good defense from Foster. Made that a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, and Van Gisbergen couldn't get through. This is going to be a bit more of a fight than I was thinking. Foster late on the throttle. He's struggled to get the power down there. Van Gisbergen's got a great run.
He does. This could be it. But again, defensive from Foster. And Van Gisbergen's going to have to go the long way. He might about clear him before the braking zone, though. Not quite. Look how deep both of them go. A little bit of a squirm from Nick Foster on the brakes. Van Gisbergen looks at the cutback, but a bit of wheel spin. But he's just about, and he will get the car alongside.
Oh, good send.
And he's going to send it up the inside. And that is a fantastic delivery from Van Gisbergen. That might be the best one yet.
Is that our new nomination for Best Send? Because that was exquisite from Shane Van Gisbergen. Took him a few corners to get the job done, but brilliant racecraft, brilliant car positioning, and hangs up into second position. But it's not done yet. Nick Foster will look for a way to fight back.
Oh, and he is side by side in the carousel. I've never seen cars side by side at the exit of the carousel. Van Gisbergen's made a mistake. They're going to go side by side through the kink. Van Gisbergen backs out of it, and there's contact through the kink. They're doing 225 k's an hour when they've made contact there. This is incredible. Great fighting by two pro drivers. Foster, Van Gisbergen, who will take this? Foster's gone so deep into Canada corner. Is he going to hold it on the track? He will. And he's going to hold on to second position. And Van Gisbergen is pulling over. He's had an issue. Van Gisbergen's out of the race. Oh no.
That is a huge shame. That was going to be a titanic battle to the finish of the race between those guys for P2, and unfortunately Van Gisbergen, he's not going to finish this one. We're not sure why. Maybe a technical issue at his end, but unfortunate. But for Nick Foster, that is a huge weight off his shoulders because he was coming under immense pressure.
How's this? Josh Rogers is now in 5th and about to fight with Jack Lemon for 4th.
Look out for this battle on the final lap as Rogers is, as you mentioned, really close to Jack Lemon. Cody Birch has got a 5.8 second lead out front after all that battling that Nick Foster has had to do on that penultimate lap. He's on the final lap now, is Cody Birch, but we'll watch this battle for a few more corners because Rogers is right there. And give it a couple corners, he's going to be right up behind Jack Lemon. We know the pace that Rogers has in GTE machinery, and surely that translates. It looks like it translates to GT1 machinery as well, because he is a 2:06 last time by, fastest man on track, and absolutely storming up to the back of Lemon.
I don't think it matters what Josh Rogers drives. He's a freak. We know what he's like in the V8. We know what he's like in an MX-5. We know what he's like in anything. There's a mistake for Lemon, and almost contact between the two. Officially now on the final lap, the clock has hit 0, and Josh Rogers has got a slowdown penalty, so he's going to have to check up. Or is he out of fuel?
I think
something
he's out
wrong
of
with
fuel.
the car. He's out of fuel.
There's absolutely no sound coming from that car. I don't think Rogers pitted after pitting under the safety car.
He did 6 laps ago, so yeah, he's pitted. Something weird going on there. What a weird race this has been.
You're telling me.
Cody Birch coming through the final corner. He's been dominant in his performance tonight, and he's going to maintain this great form he's got at the moment. He's going to win Just Send It Week 5 from Road America.
Does that mean we've had 5 different race winners for all 5 Just Send It races so far?
Yeah, I believe so.
Nice.
One battle still going on, the battle for 5th. Jackson, Susan Harlow and Craig Edwards. Edwards we know is great in GT cars. Susan Harlow we know is great in a V8. Well, this is similar to a GT car, or more closer for Edwards. Drag race to the line. They bump over the line. Susan Harlow gets it by 0.05 of a second. Great fight.
Great fight. I'm just having a look.
Shout out to Thomas Hinds, who ended up coming back to 7th position. He was in the pits. He was stopped in the pits with that incident as he just gets slammed in the rear by Dylan O'Keefe.
Being pushed to the line by Reese Lowe, who's sacrificing his race as well. Like, what?
I think Reese doesn't want to get the Posty Award. That's why Reese is pushing, because he was in that spot. But Alex Court will get the biggest mover in the field, the Posty Award. And shout out to Thomas Hinds. He was last place, or second last place, with that incident on lap 1. He's come back into 7th position. Glenwood ended up back in 9th. Josh Rogers will finish in 12th position in the end with that push over the line. But yeah, Alex Court, the biggest mover, he actually gets another spot in the end. He finishes 14th plus 32 positions. How is that?
That is a remarkable effort from Alex Court to get up to 14th place in that one. And a fantastic race that one was, Jay and Lockie. We had a bit of everything. We had strategy, we had some brilliant racing, some great sends, and as always, some absolutely horrible sends as well.
We had some great epic fails. We'll quickly run through the results and then we'll dissect the race a little bit. Cody Bircher wins by 6.5 seconds from Nick Foster. He had a great battle there with SVG coming up for the last couple of laps, but unfortunately ended early. Andrew Collins and Jack Lemon third and fourth, with Jackson Suzel and Harlow just holding off Craig Edwards at the end for fifth position. Thomas Hinds and Dylan O'Keefe, great job from Dylan to get back. He had a few incidents throughout that race. Of course, was stopped across the circuit at lap 1, turn 1, and also was around with a couple of laps to go at turn 5, so he's done a great job to get back to 8th. 9th goes to Glenn Wood. Rounding at the top 10, Brad Newman. The rest of the names will scroll on screen. But what a fantastic race that was. I'm out of breath. That was incredible. How was that for your first time out, Lockie? That was probably a little bit too full on for your first time out.
I love it. Can I do it again?
Go for it. You're welcome anytime you like.
Awesome. That was so much fun. Bit of a shame that so many of our big names got taken out in that first lap incident, but equally good to see some fantastic recovery performances from some of those drivers as well after being consigned to lowly positions with damage to then fight their way back up through the field. But some really high quality driving. How good was that battle between Nick Foster and Shane Van Gisbergen there right towards the end?
It's a really, really cool battle, and of course that battle that Foster, Lemon, Collins and Dodman had earlier as well was a really good battle as well, and seeing Rogers come through the field was really good to watch as well, and Justin Rougier as well making some really great moves too was fantastic to see throughout that race. So it's been another phenomenal one. I can't wait for next week already. Tuesday night has quickly turned into my favourite night of the week.
Yeah, it's going to be my favourite as well, and a big shame to see Van Gisbergen disconnect from that one. And as you said, Lockie, a shame that a lot of the big names, such as Marcus Ambrose, taken out towards the extreme start, it's the end of that race, but some fantastic racing, and yeah, I love it. I love it. I want to do this again, Jay.
Yeah, we will be back again same time next week, but here on SimSpeed TV we've got a lot of action coming up over the next few days. Of course, Thursday, the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, which of course is the TCR series here on iRacing Week 2 from Alton Park. Then on Friday morning Australian time, or Thursday evening if you are in the States, we will have the Geodesic Go Pro Championship GTE and GT3 machinery from Imola. And then Saturday night and Sunday, it is the biggest event in the Australia and New Zealand sim racing calendar, the VRS V8 Scops Bathurst 1000 qualifying and the top 15 shootout on Saturday night. Sunday, starting from 12:30 p.m, running all the way through all 161 laps live here on SimSpeed TV on the iRacing Esports Network. So make sure you do tune in to us on Facebook, Twitch and on YouTube. Whichever you prefer, it is the biggest weekend of sim racing in Australia and New Zealand. So make sure you do tune in over the weekend. Lockie, thanks heaps for jumping in. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you along for the commentary for tonight, and we would love to have you back anytime you would like.
Been an absolute pleasure joining you guys. Thanks very much for having me. A bit different to calling real life racing, but thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you again.
And Ryan, thanks again for jumping in at the last minute. We had a few absentees tonight, and you always put your hand up to help us out. So thank you very much for jumping in.
No worries, Jay. I love it. This commentary stuff's pretty fun. I won't lie. And when you get races like that, it goes by in an absolute flash.
It sure does. And a big thank you again to all of our supporters and sponsors for this championship series, to Wolfchester, to Vantage Freight, to the Hype Project, to SimWorks, to GB Galvanizing, and to Jack Technologies. Again, if you are looking for a PC to get involved in, just send it. Want to know how to get involved? Jack Technologies will hook you up with the perfect machinery to get you out there on track for Just Send It. SimWorks will hook you up with a perfect rig, and all of our other sponsors do fantastic things as well. But until next week, as we said, we'll be back same time next week, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. For week 6 of Just Send It, we don't know where we're going to be. We don't know what track we'll be on. Make sure you do like the Facebook page, Just Send It Sim Racing, and you can find out with us where we'll be racing next week. Until then, we thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my god!
big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!